Hey Aquarius, what's going on? We're here with a timeless reading. Welcome. Okay, first card that we have out, Death card. I'm seeing 10 of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck. So this can mean that something big is changing for you. I'm seeing the 6 of Cups here too. This is feeling like something is changing. There can be resistance that's connected with the past, but this can also mean like something familiar is going through a bit of an evolution for you. And you can feel like a tension between sort of like the old ways or how things were before versus like what they're sort of turning into now. This can have to do with so many different things. Like 6 of Cups, it's connected with the past, yes. It can also be connected with family too. So it can feel like family dynamics or like structures are changing. So it can be like, for this holiday, we used to always go to this place. Now we're going to go to this place instead. Or, you know, like really anything that's connected with like your past or your history in some way, a change that is occurring that it feels like it's going to, for some of you, like rewriting things. For others of you, there's like something that has to do with the link from the past to where you are now and something that's evolving. This is a development that's happening. But it's not feeling easy, it's feeling challenging, and it feels like because of like the old ways or something historically that may be creating a bit of tension. Meaning like if this history wasn't there and like you didn't have that attachment even to the past, you could feel like you're getting with the times and like it's not an issue. But you could feel like there's a little bit of a challenge because it's like, well, we didn't used to do it like that. It can be that type of thing. Or like, I'm unfamiliar with this because I'm familiar with like that other way that we were doing things. Like that sort of thing. So maybe you're being challenged to release and let like the old ways of something die to these new ways. Or even like old structures. Something new wants to happen, but I'm getting that it doesn't even like take you away from the past, because we have maybe you even just feel like things are different than they were before. So even though there's an essence of familiarity within this, you can feel like it's a different story this time around. Can be the vibe of this, because there are some qualities within this that feel familiar, like they don't feel strange to you. Like this doesn't feel completely foreign to you. There's a sense of familiarity within this, even though things are different. With the Death card, it's sort of like you're in the midst of being in a place you've never been before, but it's with something old. So it can be like I used to ride this bike all the time, but now it's going through these upgrades. So even though it's like the same structure of that bike that was with me, it's completely different now. Like it has these different parts, or I painted it blue, or like I put these pegs on the back of it. You know, like whatever this is for you that's associated with like what you knew before, and that's sort of carrying over, but it's in a new way. It's in a more evolved way. And I'm seeing you also feel inspired to sort of, for some of you even feel like you're picking back up on something. But I'm seeing it be like, because the Death card is here, this is not going to be the same thing as what was going on before. So this is like a new approach that you're taking, or a new spin on something that was familiar. It's kind of like you know how we can sample music and then add it to a song that's being made presently. So you have that old sample of like you're taking that thing, or even like an old piece of clothing or something, and you're sort of stitching it into something that's currently being made. It's like that sort of thing. So it's going to emerge as something completely new, but it has that essence or that element of familiarity in it. So even though these are like new times that these things are happening, I'm seeing you be like, I want to go this way. And there's something with you that you're carrying with you that feels like a good type of nostalgia that you're carrying with you. And it's tied into something that you're presently doing, a path that you're presently walking, and something that is driving you. I do want to say though, like, it's really, really important. The death card being here adds a layer that gives depth to this, that if the death card wasn't here, I'd be like, oh, you're picking back up where you were before, like dating the same person, and it's going to be like the same thing again, even though there may have been space between when you were with them. This is like, because the death card is here, it's like there can be elements of like, oh, maybe it's the same person, but this is a completely new scenario. So there are some things that feel familiar to you. Like, I've had this before, I've done this before, or this feels reminiscent of something I'm familiar with. But death card says this is actually like a whole new ball game, like that type of thing. And this is something that you're currently up to, is what I'm seeing. It looks very much like you want to be here. Maybe it was about establishing that in the first place. Like, you could feel like finally getting everybody or everything on the same page. Like, that was the whole point of this. Like, do you want to walk this way? I want to walk this way. And now, like, everybody that's sort of within this cycle is now all together. Some of you could be like traveling back to like a homeland or something like that, but it's gonna feel different. Checking in about your intention for what this is too, because I'm getting that as much as this may feel familiar, it's not gonna be feeling like the same thing. So let's just go with that example of like you're traveling back to maybe where you were born or something like that. You can be like, okay, I expect it's going to feel like it did the last time that I left, or what I was familiar with, or like how it was like before I moved to wherever I moved to, or came to whatever land I came to. And now you can be going back, and when you go back, it's going to feel different. It's going to feel like familiar but different. I'm hearing like somewhat familiar. So you're deciding to do this, right? To go on this venture. This is where you feel pulled to be. So you're like, this is the path that I'm going to travel down for now. To have judgment here, it feels like you're paying very close attention to what it is that you're actually doing. And maybe also what's drawing you to do this too. Like, why do you want to be here? Why do you want to be doing this? What's motivating you? And also who's involved as well, and what do you care about. There can be relationship decisions that are being made too. Falling under this category, a relationship that's being worked on, commitment. Yeah, there's like this old energy that's being mixed with the new energy, but I'm seeing that things are different again. So even though there's this, like, Hierophant is very traditional. Hierophant can be like stuck in the ways of doing it, or like this is what's going on and this is what has been going on for quite some time. You may even be looking into that and be like, what if this is still relevant for me, and what is not resonating anymore? What if this feels arbitrary, and what if this is not resonating? It looks like this has to do with like partnerships or relationships and choices that are being made too. It can be with you and another person. It can be with how you're socializing. It also seems like it's about what you care for and choices that are being made that are connected with that, like you looking into that. If I'm walking down this path, I need to look at this relationship or these relationships and also see like how they're relating to this thing that I'm doing here. And what I'm signing up for as well. It's interesting too because like in the beginning of this spread we start with Scorpio, and then on the other side of the spread we end with Taurus, and they're sister signs, so they're opposite from one another. So you may even feel like there's an opposition that's happening too, because Scorpio is like shedding and the evolution of things and can't go back that way that you were going before. It's like all of the old pathways getting cut off. all of the old pathways expiring, so you have to find new ones. But then with the Hierophant here, you have this element of this even like ancient energy that you're working with too. So this can be like an old commitment that you made, or like an old promise that you made, or old belief systems that you're working with, you know, or like thought systems, or agreements even. You can also be like curating your belief system too, like what matters to you now? Like what type of code or standard are you attributing to this relationship? Like also, what are you subscribing to as well? Like that type of thing. And how again does that apply to your relationship? Like what are your values? What do you care about? And then how is that impacting this relationship? So it feels like a mixture, but like an updated version of things. You could be in a bit of a whirlwind because you feel like a lot is changing and you're still trying to make sense. Maybe you feel like things aren't completely clear, things aren't completely explicit yet. You're like, in some ways I feel this nostalgia, but in other ways I feel like these certain things are changing too. So maybe you like don't have access to certain things anymore because they've changed now, and you're like, well, what is it now? It like feels familiar, but it also feels different simultaneously, like that type of thing. So I think you're just at this stage right now where you're still feeling it out and making sense of things. Because a lot is changing. And I think you're trying to tune into like what actually has changed versus what may be the same or familiar. And not just assume things. This is like, I really want to see, I really want to analyze, I really want to look into this. Like, what would this mean? What's happening? Paying attention to the choices that are being made. For some of you, this is like with a partnership, because I'm hearing like choices we make. So it feels like with you and somebody else. This could have been with somebody that you dated before, that you're considering dating now or being with now. We have like marriage on the table, living situation on the table, but this can kind of be like, is it going to lead to that? Like, is it going in that direction? Like Four of Wands can be like the place that we're trying to get to that feels harmonious. Seven of Cups before that is sort of like, is that possible? How do we get there? Can we get there? Is that what this is going to turn into? You know, so you may have a lot of questions right now that you're trying to figure out, where you can have an idea sort of what you're looking for, but you may not know whether or not this is going to be that for you. Because you could even look at this and be like, I know what it was before, but what is it now? Make sure that you're paying attention and being honest with yourself about this rather than buying into something that it's not. Because I am seeing some stuff come up that feels like if you want to project onto this situation, it'll definitely mirror something back to you, but it may not be what really is. So being very, very honest with yourself, honest self-reflection, honest reflection of this, you won't be led astray by that. Some things it's just not meant, it's not time for them to make sense yet. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to make sense. It just feels like some stuff is being sorted out and being like separated. Because you're in a different time now. So this is not cheaping out. Like, just because certain things are familiar, don't assume that everything is going to be familiar or the same. Because I'm seeing certain things are not the same at all anymore. And that can like change the bones of this as well. So you reflecting and being like, but do I actually like what that means then, or what that is? That's really going to be the key for you here. I think that this is something that you've been working on for quite some time, actually, because I'm getting like a very committed energy to this. Like, I'm seeing a lot of energy that you've sort of poured into this situation. And a lot of things that have been developed because of that. as far as like even your thought structures surrounding this, or like hopes. You may feel like you have some wishy-washy feelings too. Like sometimes you're into this, sometimes you may not be. And that can be something that you're trying to make sense of too. Like, how come sometimes I feel this and how come sometimes I don't? But it may be more so like the lack of clarity than it is the actual thing. That may be what puts you off sometimes, actually. Like, not what you know, but what you don't know. Like, you could be intimidated sometimes by feeling like things don't make sense yet. But they're still settling. So I'm seeing you decide to invest in this, but you could have thought at first that you weren't going to. Because I'm seeing you be like, okay, like, I'll meet you there. I'm going to walk down this path. But before I'm seeing you may not have been into doing this, but now I'm seeing that you are. So there's a relationship that you've been investing in. There's a thing that you've been investing in. This can be like a project. It can be a relationship. It's like a path that you're traveling down. You want things to be harmonious. You want things to be stable. You want to invest in something that's going to increase the stability and the harmony. Invest in a foundation being built, even though there are still a lot of unanswered questions. So you may be like, I don't claim to know what exactly is happening here and where this path is going to lead, but I'm going to give my energy to this for now and see like where it goes. It's like that type of thing that I'm seeing here. Now, what is the Judgment card about? Two of Cups. It feels like at the basis of it, it's like you and yourself, harmony and unity, and like the bond between you and your energy, and potentially the bond between you and another person. Because this feels like it's splitting it down the middle so you can open up and see the center of what you have going on with you and this person. Because you're investing right now in like a relationship just between like you and another. All that other stuff is going to be what it's going to be. But at the bottom of it, having 7 of Pentacles and having 2 of Cups is like, I'm investing in harmony and unity between myself and myself. And this may also be something that I can play out between myself and this other person that I'm connecting with. Like that type of thing. Because it seems like if you continue breaking things down, this is going to help you get to like the core of your relationship with yourself. And in doing so, it's also going to help you get to the core of your relationship with this other person. So it's like these two things that are happening simultaneously. What's going on with this person is just sort of a reflection of these dynamics that are playing out internally. Like on that plane first, and then it sort of vibrates out to your dynamic with this person, your relationship with this person. But I think too that there's a lot of like learning as well and understanding feelings. It seems too like this is about also breaking down and analyzing like your relationship and your feelings for this person, like just you and this person. Forget like everything else that's going on, like the titles or the environment or the situations or anything else. It's like what's going on when just you break down your relationship with this individual, just like human to human, like what's happening there, like soul to soul type of thing with Judgment and 2 of Cups. And this is also looking at something and being like, when I analyze this, is this something that's conducive to that type of bond and harmony that I want to be feeling within myself? And can this relationship reflect that as well? Or is it like not compatible in that way? What do I feel when I really tune in and think about it? Because it's like taking 2 and merging it into 1. Like, how does that work within this situation? Because I think that's like really what's desired here. Because you're looking at these two pieces and being like, do they fit together? Like, does that work? Now we make it some type of relationship. Now, how does that part work? It's like soul to soul, maybe we have a connection and that's working. But what about when you add like your job and my job? What about when you add your beliefs and my beliefs? What about when you add trying to like cohabitate? You know, it's like trying to figure out all of that stuff and going like through these levels of figuring these things out. And how you're feeling about all of it. But I think that there's still a lack of clarity that has to do with something related to the Hierophant. So this can be like, because of all of these things that are changing now, what does that say as far as like what we're committing to or what we're putting our faith in, you know? Like that's what still hasn't been decided upon. So this can even be something like another example, right? It's like, we're going to be having a baby together. What religion are we going to raise the baby as? You know, like what location do we want to raise? Like how are we going to like immerse them in the culture? You know, it can be like that type of thing. What's going to be their first language? It's like this type of stuff that can be happening within the relationship that's connected with the Hierophant, which is ultimately connected with like traditions and culture and belief systems and commitments that we make. And like, if we're in a relationship, what are the rules of that relationship? Do we share compatible values when it comes to that? And so I think that you may be looking at somebody and being like, okay, maybe like human to human or like soul to soul, we're compatible, but what about in other ways? What about in like 3D earth ways? Like, is that compatible then? What about like what you think and I think? Like, do we have clashing beliefs here? Can there be compromise? Is it compatible? And there can also be developments from the past too, where it's like, maybe there were certain beliefs before that were relevant that have evolved and now are more or less compatible. So that can also be something that's developing too. And it can be like, what's expected of me and what roles are we playing here too. But I feel like something's being broken wide open that was unnecessary before, but it was something that was keeping you stuck. And maybe you felt like this is the safe, structured way to have a relationship and the commitment is necessary. But I'm seeing a tower that's underneath the Hierophant. And so this can mean being so strict and so stiff and so traditional arbitrarily, so like old-fashioned and so like group think about something is actually what ended up breaking it apart. Like Hierophant can be like being so rigid with something that it led to the tower. It's like you build this thing with no wind resistance at all. Like you may have been building something within like not its natural environment, and then you put the building in its natural environment and you have a little bit of wind and the whole thing collapses. You know, the structure of something here. But it's because it was brittle, like it wasn't made to last where it was before. So I'm getting that sort of what's being like figured out now. Because it's like obviously it did not work before. So it feels like the death card was very necessary, but these could have been unexpected changes. But I do get the sense again, like there could have been an expectation, there could have been certain responsibilities, there could have just been stuff going on that was like too much and it felt like there was no wiggle room and like we weren't able to like grow. It was something that you could have felt was like keeping you stuck or keeping you still, and it was like forming this cast around you that you were like, I can't even expand my lungs to breathe here. And then feel like the whole thing just imploded even. Trying to make sense of things. What's it going to be? How do we harmonize things? It does look like something goes from a somewhat confusing situation to then being like, okay, maybe this can actually work. I'm going to invest in like just my connection here. More than anything, like I'm going to invest in the Two of Cups. So this can be you being like, I'm going to invest first and foremost in my relationship with myself. And you may also have like another relationship that follows because of that. But what I'm seeing too is that Seven of Cups, Four of Wands, you can be like, well, right now I'm just investing in my dynamic with this person. I don't know if it's going to turn into a relationship or not. But what I'm seeing within this is just like another human across from me and the connection that we have. And I'm just trying to learn about it for now. I'm trying to learn from it. I'm trying to connect with it and see how I can connect with it. And I'm feeling more connected with myself because of that. But I don't know what this means then. I don't know what it's going to turn into. You could have had a relationship in the past with this person, but now you don't know if that's going to be the case. It's more so about like getting to know them just like as another human without all these, I think, like expectations that you would have that you would put. It needs to be like that. Like you need to be home at 5 every day. You know, it's not that type of thing where there are all these rules and regulations. I think this is more so like that's what may have broken things last time. But you could feel it's because things got too rigid and too stuffy and like it couldn't grow. It became just too like traditional or something like that. It's like these roles that were placed that were not flexible enough. And it's something that ended up being needing to be broken out of. But it could have happened in like an energetically violent way, the way that this broke out. Because having the Hierophant in the Tower can be like having things ripped away. Like I put my trust in that, I put my faith in that, and then you feel like the rug really gets pulled out from under you in some way. Like I thought that there was a commitment, I thought that this would be here forever, you know, like Hierophant, Taurus. It's like these things that we collect that we think that we're going to have, these things that we perceive we possess even. And then like having the Death card over here, it's like you don't possess anything, and that all getting like wiped away. So there's a restructuring here that's happening. I'm seeing Aquarius on the bottom of the deck. So we have Taurus, we have Mars, Gemini, Pluto, Scorpio. Anything else? You're in the middle of a period of transition. Certain things about what exactly this is forming into, you're not meant to know yet. Because I'm seeing this can go a lot of different ways. And so you might as well give up on trying to guess and just be present to the actual relationship that you have that's developing and see what it tells you it is rather than you telling it what it is. Because I feel like that also was something that happened in the past too and why things didn't work out. Because you could have had these ideas in your head where it was like, oh, like 2 people get together and then this happens and then that happens and then, you know, all these things. But it's like that didn't actually fit the situation. And I think there's like something very important that's been learned through this, but again, it may have happened in a very like destabilizing way or felt energetically violent, the way that things like broke apart. But it's because again of this like cast being formed around something that's actually like a living, breathing thing, you know, that's meant to evolve and change. So you couldn't just keep it like that. It was meant to keep growing. So it feels like this is, I don't know, maybe like a second chance or something that you have. All of it is centered around your 2 of Cups is what I'm seeing. So it's like you and your person or you and whatever thing this is that you're connecting to. Because this can even be your approach to like the work that you're doing, you know, like it doesn't have to be another person. For most of you, it's going to be. It's like the most common thing, but that doesn't have to be what it is. So yeah. Anything else? This is what you want to do, so it's what you're investing in right now. I'm seeing there be a whole lot of potential within this relationship. So it's like ultimately about like remembering the connection and feeling your way into it and seeing what it is now and where it stands now and learning what you can from it. And I think it's also about breaking away from the old ways too, or like these old rules and regulations, and sort of like wiping all of that away so you can see the direction that this goes in without feeling like you're forcing it. You know, it's like this has a natural path that it's going to take and like route that it's carving out. And I think before you were like, we're supposed to carve this out and then follow it. And I think now, instead of you carving the route and hoping this thing follows, like you're standing behind and sort of like allowing it to lead you where it's going and just following suit, you know? It's like allowing energetically that to take lead rather than your ideas of how this should be to take lead. which is really going to allow this to turn into what it's meant to turn into. So if you can keep checking in and being like, what is actually like resonating, what's actually right, what is this actually like shaping into, rather than telling it what it's shaping into, you're going to see what this is, and you're going to allow for this to explore itself at its fullest potential. All right, my friends, I saw 3003 on the time. We are going to end the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.